So we are reading At the Dark End of the Street, Black Women, Race and Resistance, A New History of the Civil Rights Movement from Rosa Parks to the Rise of Black Power by Danielle McGuire. And our sessions it started June 3rd and they last until July 29th. They are from 6:30 to 8.
The Alabama State Legislature fired the opening salvo on March 23, 1965, by printing Act 159 in the Montgomery Advertiser. The act accused civil rights activists of leading the innocent people of Alabama into a den of corruption and sin. A few days later, William Dickinson, the freshman congressman from Alabama, denounced the marchers as perverts on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Drunkenness and sex orgies were the order of the day, he fumed. Negro and white freedom marchers invaded a Negro church in Montgomery and engaged in an all-night session of debauchery within the church itself. When civil rights activists were not engaging in instances of public sexual intercourse, Dickinson proclaimed, they spent their time in a hotel in Montgomery engaged in group sex. Free love, the congressman continued, is not only condoned, it is encouraged. Only by the ultimate sex act with one of another color can they demonstrate they have no prejudice. Dickinson would only allow House members to view his proof privately, however, as it was too obscene for public showing. Question number 2. How outlandish were these claims of sexual orgies and fornication when it came to the civil rights marches? Do you agree with Virginia Durr's sentiment that all of the cesspool of sickness connected with sex guilt comes out of these stories? Segregationists' fear of interracial sex and corresponding paranoia came from the fact that while men of the South had had so many sexual affairs with black women, they would just turn it around. It's the only thing I can figure out that made them so crazy on the subject.
It's laughable. Michelle and I had a conversation last night pertaining to, I think, chapter, was it 6, Michelle? And what did I say?
What?
It's just, I don't know. It's just unbelievable, and you know, they weren't even. They could have been a little more colorful with what they came up with. You know, this is laughable. This is absolutely laughable. And the thing that he denounced it on the, what is that, state representatives on the floor. I mean, could you imagine if our government today in 2014, some pervert got up there and said, well, you know, I don't know. It just goes beyond my thinking. What do you think, Georgette?
Well, it was definitely hysterical. Yeah,
I don't even
hysteria.
know myself, but
You know, they're projecting. Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure that it was so much sexual guilt because they did what they wanted to do. You know, they're projecting their not so secret sins, you know, that have been generational on other people, trying to scare, you know, these white, what Anglo-Saxon Protestants, you know, into the what's the worst thing that could happen? They're coming to, you know, rape our women, you know, and you know, really imposing their views on everyone else. You know, if that's, you know, if you think everyone's coming to have sex, you know, here instead of what the real problem is, the real issue is, then you're the one who has the problem.
no, I just think folks put so much value on themselves. Really, way too much
Okay.
value on themselves.
Okay.
You know. Ooh.
Well,
Well, I guess we'll keep it moving.
the only
Where's
thing I would,
Joelle?
the only thing I
Oh,
would say is, you know, it it was the free love era, and you know, we caught a little bit of that too, Vanita.
Yes,
Um,
we did. Oh, don't
and
tell all people business.
huh?
I said, don't tell all people's business. You didn't hear that right.
I'm just saying.
you okay,
Good,
Michelle?
good girls. Yes. Okay.
I'm just saying that, you know, we do know from historical accounts that, you know, MLK, for example, you know, he had some affairs. Now, that's not to say that the things that he was accused of, like one of the things was they accused MLK and Abernathy and Bayard Rustin, the three men, of you know, being in a sexual relationship. You know, most of what they feared was probably not true, but on the other hand, there may have been some some aspects of truth. And I raise it because, you know, I was thinking about one of our other dialogues recently where we talked about, I think we were talking about the politics of respectability and the fact that no one, you were making the point, Vanita, that, you know, no one can live up to the politics of respectability these days. Um, and I was trying to make the point of, yes, but do we want to deal with the reality of who people are? You know, people are never the saintly figures that we would like to make them out to be. And, you know, and that includes Dr. King. So, so I would say, you know, most of what the white folks were hurling at him were lies. Um, but at the same time, he was not a saint. Abernathy was not a saint. Bayard Rustin was not a saint. None of them were saints. And, you know, yet they still did great things in the world. And, you know, I mean, I think we have to just be realistic about who our leaders are. They're human beings.
Absolutely.
Joel, you're back?
Yeah,
You having a hard time tonight?
yeah, it just it dropped. I don't know why it dropped. Um, yeah, I was looking at the on number 2, Well, all of this is, when it comes to sex and the civil rights, of course, anyone know anything about J. Edgar Hoover at that particular time, he used any type of tactic, being, if you know the history of J. Edgar Hoover and his sexual fetishes and perversion and whatnot, he used homosexualities, affairs, and anything that was seen as deviant behavior. He used all these tactics when it comes to any of the civil rights leaders, or keep going back to the respectability clause that would seem to be the thread and theme of this particular book, especially when we get to when you're talking about the young Caucasian lady that got killed, by the Klansmen. And these type of things that J. Edgar Hoover and the Klan, they always use the misinformation. You can go then and you can go now. Misinformation, bad information about someone's character. They basically assassinate the messenger, and that will keep everybody else at bay. People be more or less like, well, you know what? I'm not even going to get in that fight because it's not even worth it. I don't want my character or what I'm doing to be a point of contention for public display. And this was, and when they did this here, inside this guy, he was down on the Congress, on the floor talking about lies. And then in the chapter it went on further. This guy, he just went and just, took pictures and put them in some magazine and sold it for money. Just a bunch of lies. But that is then, and let's look at now that they basically do the same thing, with anyone, whether it be a politician or anyone in some type of movement. They do the same thing. It's basically character assassination. Same playbook. You don't just change the date, and they'll do the same thing now with anyone.
Well, it's no different than women that have been sexually abused. Character assassination, which is why a lot of women today still won't come forward. I don't care who you are. If someone touches your body without your permission, then it's wrong. And not to get off the subject, but it just refers back to the same character assassination that women, children that have been molested, men that have been molested, goes to the same thing. Did you want it? How many boyfriends you had since 1972? And, so this is the tactic they've always used, And who else could think of such freakish, twisted stuff except for freak itself? The apple don't fall far from the tree. You got to be pretty creative yourself to think of some of the stuff that they think of. Excuse me. I'll keep it moving.